Okay. Uh, just keep searching for a button to push and found it. Okay, so you can hear me, and let me hear you again, somebody.
I
Yes.
can hear you, Charlie.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, what I did here, you heard me start the recording, and I forgot to start the recording for the first half that we did. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit by myself here and have my own session and record that first part for you. And then I'll put it up. It may take me, Thursday to do that, but you'll have it. And this part will probably go up first. Okay. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. Thumbs up, something. I need to know I'm still connected. Thank you, Andy and Jessica. Okay. Okay. So let's move on then. Now that took me about an hour to do, a little bit more than an hour. But when I record it for myself, uh, even though you weren't interrupting before, I'm probably going to get it done in 45 minutes or so. So uh, we'll see. Can you see my cursor? Can you see the cursor at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Yeah, that stupid thing. I'm going to launch the meeting again. Okay, I'm going to do it the old way. Okay, here's where we were. Additional models. And yeah, we finished this portion. This is the portion I have to get to in the recording I make on my own. Okay, now we're at our proper week, the 4th and the 6th of May. And I've either curtailed or cut down discussion and assignments. It's time to really hone in on your grade at the end here. I need to go over these histology photos with you. We've done some of them, half of them, but we haven't done the others. Okay. Page comes up a little small, just hit control and the wheel and you'll enlarge it. I think you probably know it better than I do. Okay. I want to do the organs. In doing the organs, some of them we've actually done when we were over here doing the epithelial, connective tissue, and muscle tissue. This is a salivary gland. I've got a very good picture of a salivary gland for you. You know, I think every picture that I have, I've got a not so good one and a really swell one. So you'll be fine. But this salivary gland is characterized by a lot of fat moving through it. That's this material here. Okay. And then a lot of cells that secrete. Secretory cells are called acinar cells. ACINAR. That's in our text, which we haven't passed by yet. And then we'd expect for a salivary gland to find a duct. The salivary gland, even the beautiful one I've got pictured for you, uh, doesn't lend itself immediately to uh, being very recognizable. So when I find a slide that's not recognizable, I usually try to first think, is that a salivary gland then? Because they're unrecognizable. And yep, then sure enough, it strikes home. Salivary gland, you have to know that it's an exocrine gland that secretes salivary amylase, that it's a merocrine gland secreting only fluids. The tongue, we've seen this one before. The tongue, it has a stratified squamous epithelium, but down in the areas between, it has these taste buds labeled TB here. On the test, they won't be labeled TB, but I think everybody gets this one right. The esophagus. First off, on the esophagus, this is where your study guide comes in. Even before you look at the picture, the esophagus, the upper part is stratified squamous epithelium, and the lower part is simple columnar. This is the upper part. And here's the lumen. And you're wondering, are there two lumini? I don't know what the plural of lumen is. Okay. Are there two of them? No, they connect up here. And then when you swallow something, this is pushed out of the way. And it becomes just one circular uh, uh, vessel. This bump here is this bump over here. Okay, that's a lumen. So this is not a covering, but it's a lining epithelium. And this epithelium is many cell layers thick. It's stratified. So it can only be one of two things: stratified squamous or transitional. If you recognize it immediately as esophagus, then the job's over. It's stratified squamous. If you don't, then look at it, see that the many layers terminate in flat cells. And then it's got to be stratified squamous. This slide would be used more to ask you what type of epithelium we have here than it would be to ask you what the structure is. The stomach. Okay, now this confuses people a little bit at first, but it doesn't matter where you look on the internet, they always want to shave it like this. First off, realize that this stuff down here is muscle tissue. Okay, this is smooth muscle. Up here is the edge of the lumen. The lumen is up above. Okay. Now, in the stomach, we expect to find rugae, but the rugae are large, and this is just a small section along the side of a rugae or on top of a rugae. We don't actually see the rugae. What we're seeing, though, are these indentations. Some people will confuse this if they don't hear what we say right now for small intestine. No way. First off, small intestine is never so flat across the top. They're all different lengths. Small intestines have finger-like extensions, and that looks like one, doesn't it? But this is not a finger-like extension. This is a cross-section of tissue that has pits going down These are cuts into the epithelium. They're called gastric pits. When we see the small intestine again in just a minute, you'll realize that there's tremendous difference. Here it is. The ends are not always even. These are extensions. They look like eels. It depends upon how the cut was made. These look beautiful. These not so beautiful. And this looks like a tree. But this is, they're all villi. This is simple columnar. Once we know it's small intestine, the only type of epithelium that we'll have is simple columnar. Here it's beautiful over here. Main site of digestion. I think this large intestine, yes, it's a good slide. This is the connecting wall. Okay, a little bit of smooth muscle here. Okay, but here's the lumen. Here's the lumen, the clear spot. And here's the epithelium. The epithelium is simple columnar. The white dots that you see within those epithelial cells, where I've got the pointer right now, or over here, where you see a magnified view. These are mucus secreting cells to help move the contents along. You can find mucus cells, also known as goblet cells, in the stomach, but very few. In the small intestine, a few more, and in the colon, all over the place. Doesn't this remind you somewhat? Oh, you got two or three octopi together, and those are those suckers. Function of the colon: compaction of waste, reabsorption of water. Here's pancreas. I had a better slide for the other day, so this is the one not as good. Here's an islet of Langerhans. Here's an enlarged view of that same islet. And this little one below it, over here, is this one here. The islets are all about the same size, but it's like bobbing for apples. Some apples are right on the surface, and some got pushed deeper. Okay, and then when the cut's made, it makes them look smaller. Don't be confused with red blood throughout. We have vessels, of course, everywhere. The pancreas is a gland, so we expect to see lobes, which I'm drawing one now. You'll never get lobes if you don't have a gland. The islets produce insulin and glucagon, insulin in the beta cells, glucagon in the alpha cells. This is a picture of the liver. Okay. And I think I went over this one with you on another set. That's fine. But a lot of duplicates. And again, that doesn't hurt. Here's a lobule. The lobule is six-sided. Whether or not the six sides are all the same length doesn't matter. They're approximately six-sided. There's always going to be an exception. I can't help that. So this is the lobule, and here's the central vein. Blood from the small intestine comes up here, 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 in these areas called triads. Triads. A triad has an entrance, which we can't see here, an entrance in the triad for a bile duct. It also has an entrance for an artery or an arteriole, better said. And it has an entrance for the hepatic portal vein. The blood from the hepatic portal vein has not been processed. It filters down towards the central duct, central vein. And by the time it gets there, hopefully any toxicity or toxic agents have been removed or mitigated. May have to go through another cycle, come back to the liver again. This was the kidney slide we've seen so many times. So we've got a glomerulus, a glomerular space, and then we've got Bowman's capsule, which is simple squamous epithelium right here. The pancreatic, the kidney tubules are all lined by simple cuboidal. Here it really looks nice. You've seen the eye. I wouldn't show you the one on the left. That's a lens down there. Wouldn't expect you to know it. That's a ciliary body that the connection doesn't show. Don't expect you to know that. If I want you to tell me what the organ is, okay, and you suspect it's an eye, look for the dark part first. That's the choroid coat. On one side of it will be the retina, which looks like mowed lawn. It does to me. I mowed a lot of lawns as a kid. And this side, oh, I didn't even know there was a side over here. See it now. This is the sclera. Okay. These are called tunics. The lung tissue, different photograph than I showed you before, but still should be quite identifiable. Okay. The small little openings, small little crevices, let's call them, are alveoli. That's the site of external gas exchange. External. These would be right here, respiratory bronchioles or alveolar sacs if they're smaller. I'm not going to ask you to label or identify sacs versus bronchioles. What I just want to know on this one, it's lung tissue, okay? And it is a source of simple squamous epithelium right there. Look how thin that is. We saw this one on the right. The top part would be the stratum corneum. But all this, to me, uh, raspberry colored, I don't know. And down to here. Okay, this purplish color, maybe. From here to here is epidermis. And below it is the dermis. Epidermis is stratified squamous epithelium, and the dermis is dense, irregular connective tissue. Over here, we recognize these things that look like avocados with bugs on them. Some people see them as some sort of tropical fruit. Those are all sebaceous glands, oil glands. Where's their connection to the hair follicle? It simply doesn't show. in this slide, okay, but it's there. These circular little bundles, all connected together and close to each other, are part of a sudoriferous or sweat gland, which we just went over. This is a sudoriferous or sweat gland over here too. Fat, this ovary happens to be taken from a cat, but it serves our purpose very well. This is an immature follicle, and when it does mature, it becomes finally one of these, a Graafian follicle. This is the ovum. You have to know that this organ is both part of the reproductive system and the endocrine system. Sorry, I skipped you, Harmony. Uh, the islet of Langerhans is included inside of the pancreas. Hang on for just a second. Okay, can you see this page?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Here's an islet of Langerhans. I like this one better. Okay, here, 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 here. These are places of endocrine function. All around the islet of Langerhans are the cells of the pancreas that secrete pancreatic amylase. These are exocrine cells, and the endocrine cells are the islets of Langerhans. They contain alpha and beta cells inside. You can see the small little cells. In the proper staining, you can actually see a difference in them. But that's a little beyond where I want to take you right now. Okay, so insulin is produced in here and glucagon is produced in here in separate cells, however. Blood moving through picks up the two hormones and moves them throughout the body.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get back to our page. Stop it. Okay, do you see one small picture up here?
Yes.
Okay, let's enlarge it. Now, since we've got sound both ways now, uh, just shout out any questions you have. Otherwise, I might pass it by on text, chat. Okay, we look at this and it's like, what the hell? Like I said, there's going to be a couple like that, and you have to figure out a different way that's good for you to memorize them. These are tubes. Oh, that's a short tube. No, it's not. It may come up out at you. If that happens, we're going to cut it and cut it off. And then when it comes back down to the same level, it might be this tube. But these are all tubes going in all directions. These are seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules in the testes. They produce from their walls, from their first cells, they produce cells inward. And when those are released, those are the four spermatids, the result of meiosis. The spermatids and fluid uh, fill these tubes and it moves along just out of pressure and it moves towards the epididymis. Okay, so now I've covered these slides that you have here. Like I said, I have more that are as good or even better. And okay, I'm going to show you this one, but before I do, because somebody will slip away, I have some histology type practice questions. Uh, like I said, you're studying histology, you're studying for L uh, 4 and 3 at the same time. So I may have a mixture here, but this histology practice, if it doesn't come up like it's not for me, just click on the thing at the top and it's starting to come up. Okay, this is a self-do. I don't need you to turn it in. I will go over it with you, although the answers I've got printed for you as well. Okay, and these are typical questions that in thinking, not answering, just thinking through the material, you need to be able to answer these questions. Okay, what type of tissue makes up each of the following, for instance? What major type? Okay, what's the difference between hyaline and elastic cartilage? Where are the islets of Langerhans? We just answered that. Okay, some organ questions, some hormones questions even. Okay, I really encourage you to, when you feel that you're ready for it, or as you go along, your choice, to answer these. And then the answers right here under it. Since this isn't a click thing, but it's just self-do. Here are the answers. My answer in blue. My answer is a suitable answer, an adequate answer. It's not the only answer. So your answers are right there for you too. There are histology examples that I probably will get to today. That's okay. I want to go ahead and do the third one. Histology questions. This is an actual old examination. Okay. And I'd given it for many years until I changed it out. It was not clickable because it was in class. People were to write down their answers on a Scantron. It's good we don't have Scantrons. They were always the source of failure, it seemed. Okay, so histology questions, an old test. This would be a PowerPoint, and up would come this first slide. What organ is the slide taken from? And what's the structure at the tip of the pointer? I'd go up to the board and say, the tip of the pointer is this structure here. Now, you have 5 answers. I mean, does this look like ovary to you? I can't see any thumbs, so. Does it look like lung? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm still thinking.
Okay, okay. Everybody seems to be thinking.
I actually don't know this one, or I do, but I'm blank on it.
Well, let's eliminate some, okay? Which one of the first 5 would you eliminate first? Anybody? Doesn't have to be you, Anna. It's the kidney. It's the kidney. That's the glomerulus. That's Bowman's capsule. These are the kidney tubules. What's fooling you? Different color? You know, that does fool people. So you definitely need to look at these. Okay. I don't have the answers posted for this, and I won't. There's, I don't feel it's productive. We'll go over it again. And I told you what the structure is. There has to be a match between numbers 1 and 2. What is the organ and what's at the tip of the pointer? Okay. Not the lobule that I just showed you in the liver. Okay. Acinus, it could be secretory cell. Glomerulus, that looks right. Follicle, no, there's too many of them all at once. And alveolus, it doesn't look like sponge. So, of course, I know which way I want to go. I'm going to say glomerulus, and then they just got to find us something with glomerulus, and that's the kidney. We saw this one just a moment ago. Okay, so any idea what organ it was taken from or the functional unit? The functional unit is one of these. Liver's correct. And it's a lobule. Thank you. What's this tissue type? We're not looking at an organ here. But then where would you find it in the body? You have to read through the answers. If you make a guess, the worst that can happen is you're wrong. And I don't care. I appreciate the guess. Gives me a place to start from.
Hyaline?
Hyaline cartilage, correct. Okay, hyaline cartilage looks like you've got these little cells in small bundles. And to me, they look like they're floating in plastic. It always looks like plastic to me. These are chondrocytes, each one of these cells, and this is hyaline cartilage. So where might we find it? In tendon? I wouldn't want cartilage in my tendons. My salivary glands? Oh God, that must hurt. Epiglottis? We don't have hyaline, we have elastic. Inside long bones? No, but inside the bone marrow, it's articular cartilages. at the ends of the bones. Here's a pretty one. What's the tissue type that's seen? ET stands for epithelial tissue. Where would in the body would you find this tissue?
Pseudostratified.
This is pseudostratified. And I've said it several times, so I'm hoping that you're reviewing your notes. Where would you find pseudostratified normally? In the urinary tract, lungs, trachea, oviduct, or esophagus?
I want to say the esophagus.
Thank you for trying. That one's wrong. It's in the trachea. It's in the respiratory system. Remember I said nasal cavity, in the larynx, and the trachea. They're prime examples because the cilia bat dust out and up and try to get it to the esophagus for you to essentially swallow. Now, here's another one, a much better example, not the nicer picture. What organ is this tissue taken from? That's all it's asking. It's one question. So,
Is it the testes, Charlie?
no. First off, you see lobes. You see lobes. I'm telling you, you see lobes. It's got to be a gland, but there's a number of glands up here. Okay. There's some fat in it, and there's ducts in it. So this probably is not an endocrine gland. The answer for this one is that it's a salivary gland. This is salivary gland. You'll get another chance to look at these. Now this one I know you know because we've had it on a previous test. What have we got?
Skeletal muscle.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Okay, see the ribs? You can see that the nuclei are on the periphery. The few that look like they're inside or not, you're looking right through to the bottom. Lots of ways to remember these things. This is one I told you is probably the easiest, with the threads running through it, like almost like spider webs. Areolar, right, connective tissue. And then which type of red blood cell, or I'm sorry, white blood cell is this? They're both the same.
Neutrophil?
Yep. Okay, just in your mind, think, what is this? And then go looking for the answer. It looks like shattered glass windshield.
Lung.
That's it. What's the functional unit of the lung?
Alveolus.
That's it. Now you're getting it. What organ was this taken from? An organ. Well, first you got to know what this is. And then there's only one thing here that fits. This is nervous tissue with glial cells. So which one of these has nervous tissue and glial cells primarily? I mean, you find them throughout the entire body, but which one is this inundated with them? Be the spinal cord. We saw this one a few moments ago, but it was a different color and the arrangement was a little bit different. Want to know what organ this comes from? And the structure at the end of the pointer is this entire hollow tube. Okay, this is the testes again. And these are the seminiferous tubules. They're all coming out towards you. That's why they don't zigzag. But you can see the depth of the wall as they produce the spermatids. The only thing difficult about this one is to get over the fact that it's different color. Is this pseudostratified? How can it be? I don't see any cilia, right? Okay. But it's multi-layered. It's multi-layered, so it can only be one of two things: transitional or stratified squamous. And this is stratified squamous because the end cells are flat. This is epidermis. Okay, what organ is this one?
Is it the eye?
Yeah, sure. That one's easy. And we've seen this so many times. What organ would this be?
Small intestine.
Small intestines, right. What's the structure at the tip of the pointer? What's it called? Whole thing.
Villus.
Villus, correct. We just saw this exact same slide. This one, this we know is the ovary, and this is a follicle that's being pointed to. Okay. We went out of our way to get this picture. So what organ does this come from? And then what are the structures? And both of those arrows point to the same type structure.
Is it the pancreas?
Yes. Yes. And if that's the pancreas, what's embedded in it?
Bauman's Council?
No? Good guess. Harmony, come on, you know this
I
one.
would-
Okay, thank you.
I want to give other people a chance to answer.
Well, you listen, we're giving them a chance and they're just silent. You ever been in a group where you don't want to be the one to answer because you don't want to be wrong, or the opposite, you don't want to hog the show or whatever? Well, I don't know any better way or other way to do it. Okay, but I figured you'd know that one. Okay, 27. What tissue type is this? Where do you find it?
Is it dense regular?
Yes, it is. And where would you find it? Anybody?
You find it in tendons?
That's where we find it. Thank you. Okay, we've seen this slide before. What's the tissue type at the end of the pointer? It wants to know what kind of tissue is this. Look at its shape and look at it, how many layers thick it is. And here are our answers.
Simple cuboidal.
Yes, and then where in the body is it found? In other words, where does this picture come from? Well, I have the feeling some people have some reviewing to do because this is the very first one we did. This is from the kidney tubules. We just saw this one today. What organ is this?
Small intestine.
No, not this time. Remember the one that looks like a bunch of octopi together and here's their pads? This is the
Colon?
colon. Thank you. And the epithelial layer is made up of what? This is the epithelial layer. And it goes down here where we lose track of it. Here it is. After the esophagus, after the first part of the esophagus, the entire GI tract is made up of the same type of tissue.
Simple columnar.
Yes. And then what's the structure at the end of the pointer?
Goblet cell.
That's it. Okay, now that's the end of this PowerPoint because on the practicum, the first 33 questions, and that's 33, are PowerPoint-based questions. And then the rest, 67 questions, are either a few thought questions, like what's the function of this structure or that structure, or they are models that have labels on them here to identify the structure. Okay, so you can review this if you wish, because I'm going to have the recording up for this half. Okay, second half, hopefully tonight. Okay, but the first half, I've got some things I've got to do before I get back to it, but I will record that first half. And I'll bore myself to death. Okay. There's also at the end of this week, histology practice. Showed you that. Examples and histology, more examples. Okay. Again, some of them aren't as clear as others. I intend to only use clear examples on the exam itself. I dragged from week 14 the practice final exam and its answers down to the bottom of week 15 for you. So to be in a probably more logical place. Didn't put any date on them, but I think it makes sense that way. Remember, you have to go all the way back to get some of the material from week 11. And that would start with integumentary system. Okay, any questions? Okay, then I'll end this, or invite you to exit and wait around and see if there's always one or two people who do have a question and want to ask it more privately. Okay, see you Thursday.
Bye. Thank you,
Hey,
Charlie.
Charlie. Bye.
Really?
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Chris.
I just wanted to ask, are you able to tell me which of the outlines you have not received for me, just to make sure?
Yeah, just a second. Okay, Chris,
Mhm.
I got you marked down for everything.
Okay, even chapter 5, because
Yep.
I have it, I just don't know if I sent it.
I got it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure I got everything, just to make
Okay.
sure. Okay,
No problem.
great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. See you Thursday. Bye.
Bye-bye.